going by your earlier submission, what is the implication of this judgment for the polity and the coming elections?
Those who are planning themselves, it is better now that you allow your true figures to be reflected in Form EC8A. Because what happened was that when they went through every single unit as recorded in Beavers and the EC8As, there was overvoting and discrepancy in 749 units. The law is very clear now. Once it exceeds the figures as captured by the Beavers, once it exceeds those figures, automatically that unit is cancelled. There is no question of trying to deduct the overvoting figures and all that. No, they will just cancel the entire unit. So it is a lesson to riggers. It's a lesson to those who do not want to come to terms with our new electoral process, that right now our electoral process is cleaner and better, and you can see that 100,000 votes were stolen by a candidate who was declared great. I can say that confident now because I'm quoting from the judgment of a court. It's a finding of fact. 100 and something votes were stolen to cheat the people of Osun State. So that's the point now. We must continue to play the game as prescribed by law. I don't want to say too much about the dissenting judgment, but let me just, for 10 seconds, brief the public about what the dissenting judgment says. The single dissenting judgment simply says that they should have they should have relied on the electoral, the register of voters. But our contention in that section 47 has done away with the old register of voters. That, of course, has been replaced with us now, because that is the basis for now. The old is no longer the basis for accreditation of voters.
All right, now let's move on to other issue. Why have you gone to court over the whistleblower's allegation against former Vice President Atiku Abubakar?
No, you see, I think I've explained this a number of times. Now, we must continue, we must begin to do things in this country that accords with morality and good conscience. It is very distasteful that a candidate running for the office of President of Nigeria, when he was Vice President of this country, he virtually confessed that he abused his office. Our boss, President Olusegun, companies, shell companies, by which they siphoned funds, public monies, to fund their businesses, fund their political parties, families. And there's no sense of outrage. There's no sense of remorse on their part. What do you hear? What do you hear? You hear counter mudslinging. You are hearing, what about you now? What did you do about it? You also did and do that. And then in saying so, notice that they have not produced an equally compelling evidence like us. All they just wanted to do is what Yoruba say, "Kadasi rough." Let us play into the gutters, so that people will just think that it is too fighting. That's what they have said. So have they produced before Nigerian people a video evidence, a voice note, as we have done, of our confessing to a crime? All they have done is to now bring dead evidence of cases that have been completed long ago. And don't forget that when they brought this evidence out, I challenged them. About October or last year, I said, go to court. If you know that this is a disqualifying issue, go to court. They refused to go to court. Why? Because there was no substance to take to court. These matters had been, first of all, there was no territorial jurisdiction, because these matters happened in the US and the matter had been settled, and the US government had issued a letter. So they knew they could not go to court. They were only using it for nuisance value. They were using it for blackmail. And they were using it to hoodwink Nigerians to get votes. But in our own case, this was fresh evidence. So I'm sure that talking to Nigerians are intelligent enough to decipher between what we are saying and what they are saying. Ours is a case of compelling fresh evidence regarding issue that EFCC had been trying to crack, like you have been trying to crack a case for many years, you cannot crack a case. Now you say you knew how that crime was committed. And see that even in the tape, he admitted that EFCC had thoroughly investigated that account, but that they could not catch him because they were using fronts. So I decided on my own, you know, in the last 30 years of this country, it has been my forte to challenge illegal acts in court, to challenge unconstitutional issues in court, to challenge corruption in court, to also go to court to promote our democracy and to promote constitutional governments. I've always done that. It has been my forte. And so this time I decided that the fact that I'm in office will not stop me from challenging this illegality. And I want Nigerians to see the immorality in their response. The immorality, and they should be angry about what they are doing. They are doing counter. They are just quoting fake accounts, raising, dream about monies are transferred here and there. Even the so-called company, the person who accusing or who was accusing Asiwaju on that issue before had come out to endorse Asiwaju and said he was sorry about what he did. So there's no correlation between what we are doing and what they are doing. There's no correlation at all. And that is why we must, I will decide that, I have decided, that I will ask questions until answers are provided. Right. It is not right. It is not right. Look, let me even tell you, I just say this for 10 seconds. Do you know in the heat of this SPV, in the heat, Atiku went to Ibadan and said before a crowd of supporters, he did not say it behind cameras. He was not caught off tape saying it. He was saying it in front of cameras that if you don't vote, if you don't deliver it, you will not get contracts from me. That is to tell you that it is in his veins. Corruption is in his blood. You cannot change a tiger. A tiger you cannot change his colors. Why don't you take it to London and bring it back? He does not know that there is nothing wrong about bypassing due process. This is a presidential candidate that does not know anything about due process. And he was saying it in public, in the heat of SPV. That is the kind of candidate Nigerians are going to decide whether to vote for him or not. He does not understand illegality again. He's wired to promote corruption.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, I'm sure many Nigerians would also like to hear this. Is it your intention to send Atiku to jail or get him out of the presidential race, or both?
Both. Because a governor to jail for this particular issue. And I'm not saying this on a lighter note. A governor who served the state, Dariye, because of this account called Marine Float account, it was one of the counts upon which he was found guilty and sent to jail. So who is Atiku Abubakar, for Christ's sake? Who is he? Is he above the law? Does he have immunity more than the governor? When we are supposed to hold him to a higher level of morality in this matter? And there's no outrage by some sections of even Nigerians and the press about what he's doing. You heard the whistleblower was on this station the other day, revealing more facts about the presidential candidate, and to tell you that we have sunk to the lowest level of debauchery. You can even see that a section of the press, I can tell you a particular or two particular TV stations, who were inviting people who were not even related to Asiwaju, who just made documentaries about conjectures about what happened in the US. They were invited on a daily basis to those stations by Zoom. They have not invited Achumugu, who was an insider, who have evidence, who have documents. They have not invited him to come and talk to Nigerians. It's to tell Nigerians the lowest level of debauchery and immorality that even some of members of the press have sunk in Nigeria. And I'm saying this openly.
All right, speaking to that, one of the prominent lawyers in the country said nobody will arrest Atiku because he's too powerful. And as a human rights lawyer, I'm asking you now, are there really people who are above the law in our country?
There's nobody who is above the law. Let me even tell you that even in terms of explaining to Nigerians what transpired when Asiwaju was accused, I want Nigerians to understand that we, all of us, my colleagues in the various media departments, came out of respect for Nigerians and took Nigerians through the evidence one by one in the US and came to the conclusion that this is apologizing on behalf of Atiku. They are only saying that, what about you two now? Is that somebody running for president of Nigeria to say, if you do it, I will do it too? And we are talking of the same coffers that he's going back to preside over. Like somebody said, he said, if you were doing special purpose vehicle then, as vice president, now we expect special purpose aircraft to be siphoning Nigeria's money.
So let's go back to the exclusive interview. The whistleblower had
takeaways is that simply that I saw a gentleman who was troubled by his conscience. And he said the moment he made that call to Atiku Abubakar in 2018 to explain what happened with the Marine Float account, and he had that response. From then on, he said he was a troubled man, and he thought that this is a man who should not be running for the president of this country. And so, rather than humiliate the young man, rather than tag him with all kinds of negative epithets, I think we should hail him as a whistleblower. This is what we are promoting in this country. The government, don't forget that as a policy of President Buhari, when he came, he approved the whistleblower. And just in this, I was in council on that day, a draft bill on the whistleblower protection was brought to council, and we approved it. That bill is about to be transmitted to the National Assembly to formally, pass a law to promote this kind of persons who have the temerity and the courage to speak out in the face of illegality and corruption. This is the type of, people that the law wants to protect in this country.
So I would also like to know if you share the notion that these are mere allegations that may not be successfully proven. Mr. Keyamo.
But that is why you need to investigate them. Are you running away from investigation? If Atiku Abubakar was to be a responsible Nigerian, how immoral his reaction is. Again, you saw documents by which this gentleman was appointed, signed by his, people around him, signed by his children or his son, signed by his manager, his campaign managers. You saw emails exchanged between him and Atiku Abubakar. You saw his phone numbers in those emails. You saw his voice note. The evidence is compelling. It's compelling. And Nigerians, look, no matter we argue from now till tomorrow, Nigerians listening to that voice, seeing those documents, they have made up their minds. The PDP people can come here and begin to do tricks up and down, but Nigerians who are intelligent, who are elites enough, or even the ones who are not too educated, they have listened to it. They know the issues. I speak with you, they have made up their minds. They can come here and fool themselves before Nigerians, but I can tell you that Nigerians have made up their minds as to the character of the person of Atiku Abubakar. And that's why he has always lost elections in this country, because people don't just trust him.
All right, so let's move on to some other issues. A former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, who headed the civil society unit, talking about Najatu Mohammed, has been granting newspaper and television interviews backing your party and the principal. Now, the PCC claimed that she was fired for being quarrelsome and incompetent, but she's claiming that she resigned. What's the true situation?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's even something I should not even waste my time on, but just to make 2 or 3 replies. First of all, those who were in her particular directorate, because I wasn't close to them, I don't even know her one-on-one, but those who were had already informed, there was a press statement to that effect later. But she knew she was going to be sacked, and so she quickly came out with all of these theatrics around to Atiku Abubakar. But secondly, and most importantly, to tell you that Nigerians have seen through her theatrics. You claim you went to London to see Asiwaju around October last year, or September, and that you noticed some abnormalities about his behavior. That is why he said that he could not hold a cup of tea, could not drink, and all of that. But after that, you came back to Nigeria. You accepted the appointment, you began to function. You were waiting for something which I don't want to say on air here. He was actually waiting for something and putting pressure and almost blackmailing our presidential candidate. And she was told off, she was rebuffed before she decided on theatrics, and she thought she's doing some damage. But really, anybody who questions her integrity will simply ask her, why come back from London and accept the appointment if you notice some abnormality? Again, she granted interview, she's beginning to contradict herself big time. And I tweeted that this morning. She said Asiwaju likes to be controlling, and he's like an emperor that likes to control people, Nigerians. And I simply asked the question. She said on the one hand that Asiwaju has dementia. On the other hand, you said she's an emperor and tries to control people. Anybody who is an emperor and tries to control people is actually indicative of somebody who has a very sharp mind, who is sharp-witted, and who is methodical in his thinking. So how can you reconcile both now, that somebody has dementia, yes, the person is sharp-witted enough and wants to control people, an emperor? Well, Nigerians have dismissed her as a rabble-rouser. And let me tell her, she should go and resign from the Police Service Commission that President Buhari had, appointed her into. You are supposed to provide advice regarding security and issues regarding the police. Now you come on air complaining about the police, but you have been given an opportunity to contribute now. In the critical sector you are complaining about that there is insecurity in the country, but you are in the Police Service Commission. Resign from there. That is the fraud that woman is. I'm sorry, but it's fraud.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, she also spoke so much about Tinubus' health issue. She said your principal is not fit to be president. But as someone who has worked with Tinubu on this campaign, how will you react to that allegation?
I don't even have to react. Nigerians should react. Asiwaju has covered more ground than other presidential candidates. You see him dancing, town hall meeting to the other. What more do you want to see? He's climbing stages unaided. He's coming down from stages unaided. The other time they were hiding Atiku Abubakar down from the stage. They were holding his hand. Nobody's talking about that. That is not making headlines. It's Asiwaju.
All right then. This campaign season has been characterized by name-calling, unprofessional conduct by broadcast stations, mocking and body shaming of candidates. Why is this election characterized by negative state of affairs?
It's unfortunate that you are actually calling, the fourth estate of the realm into, question. Because we have seen the most unprofessional house, media, and also, of course, television stations, radio stations too. The other day, Asiwaju, in a bid in Jos, I'll give you an example. In a bid to say APC, he said he mistakenly said APC, corrected himself. That issue, a normal slip of tongue that everybody, all the spokesmen, all the candidates do that. It made headline in a major newspaper in this country. Headline. That same Jos, about 3 weeks later, Atiku went there, made the same error. He said APC, he said vote for AP or PDP. That thing was blanked out from that particular paper. It was blanked out. Until I cried out, I tweeted it, I called them out. The next day they went to talk it inside page 10 or page 12. It's to tell you the lowest level of debauchery to which we have sunk everywhere. So this name calling and all kinds of things you are hearing is promoted and aided by a partisan press, a partisan fourth estate of the realm. And I am sorry if this tradition continues. Their credibility will die, their reputation will die, and Nigerians will no longer look up to them for news items. And Nigerians are beginning to question every news item they see in various media houses now. Like I told you, and I'm calling them out on this program, Atiku was an aide to Atiku Abubakar. He has documents, he has voice recording. Why have you not invited him? Why? I'm calling out those radio stations and TV stations, but you were inviting people making documentaries, do nothing about Asiwaju, who relationship with Asiwaju, bring them to appear every day by Zoom because of one dead drug matter. Nigerians should be wise as to what is going on in the press.
Mr. Keyamo, but we also some politicians promoting this negativity. Just recently we
The
saw...
noise is coming out. They should stop playing that video. The noise is interfering. I can't hear. They should stop playing that video.
All right, I was saying that some politicians are also guilty of this negativity because just recently we saw some very senior member of the Presidential Campaign Council mimicking candidates.
They should stop playing that. All right. Yes. Well, I made that point the other day that it is okay if you do this thing in skits. On online media, and most of these young people do in skits, it's okay. You take them as fun. It's one of the things you can't control on online media now. But if somebody appointed by a presidential coming on stage in a campaign and mimicking and trying to, to mock an otherwise healthy candidate, don't forget that the candidate you are mocking is even healthier than yourself. He looks fitter than you. I don't want to describe the way he looks, his physique, but the physique of him, my candidate, looks better than your physique. And then you are falling on stage and mimicking an otherwise healthy candidate who is even 30 years, more than 30 or 20 years older than yourself. And then a vice presidential candidate on that stage, laughing with his 32 showing. It was the height of imbecility. It's the height of idiocy. I'm sorry, but that is the only way I can describe it. Posing on us at that time, and he passed on. Who was going through dialysis and all that? I said so. I said that was not mocking him. It was a statement of fact because he had died. Yar'Adua had died at that time. I was not mocking him. I was not doing tricks. But this is somebody rolling on stage, mocking an otherwise healthy candidate. I hope Nigerians are watching. I hope Nigerians are seeing the type of characters who are seeking for their votes and who want to get into the presidential villa. Nigerians will reply them with their PVC February 25th.
Mr. Keyamo,
I'm very confident about that.
Mr. Keyamo, before we move on, I would kindly urge you to please mind the kind of language you use because we're on air. All right, so let's move. So much has been said about Tinubus' remarks in Abeokuta, in which he made it clear that even with fuel scarcity and inadequate naira notes, people will come out and trek to polling centers. What really is the point he was trying to make? Was he talking about the fifth columnist or some people working with the opposition and key public servants to frustrate government's effort? Or was he referring to the Buhari administration?
Well, people forget that not all members of government are APC members. There are people who are appointed to head agencies, head various parts of government who are technocrats. And so it is not a matter of APC fighting itself. Asiwaju was just drawing the attention of Mr. President and those who should know that certain individuals are conniving with the opposition to frustrate the system and to ensure that the system looks bad. It is not only the people in government that influence those within who are charged with certain statutory responsibilities. You have just seen that in Osun State now. How did INEC allow itself to be influenced so much so as to generate beavers, to allow overvoting and to record those overvoting? That is an example of an opposition party influencing people who are entrusted with statutory functions. I'm not guessing, I'm not accusing, I'm stating what the judgment of today said. That is what is happening, and that's what Asiwaju has said is happening in respect of these other issues he pointed out in Abeokuta. And so it was drawing the attention of Mr. President to it clearly that there are people who are saboteurs within the system who do not also have peaceful elections. Simple.
All right, let me have your take on this. The PDP has responded by saying Tinubu was frustrated because President Buhari was staying away from APC rallies.
Well, President Buhari has appeared in APC rallies. You know, I don't know why they are so scared of President Buhari supporting Asiwaju. You know, each time President Buhari is mentioned, they catch cold. But we thought before that they said President Buhari had no influence. Before they said that President Buhari, they refused to accept that they were defeated by President Buhari in 2019. So why are they scared and praying every day that President Buhari does not support Asiwaju? Let me tell you this. And raising that can legacy is enough for entire Nigerians to see. President Buhari does not need to go from one stage to the other. He has done that convincingly. He has granted interviews. And they know that the game is over. Because President Buhari is when you are playing words in a game, is what we call the last card. When you say, pick two, check up. So they have been making a President Buhari for us. He's our joker. He's our last card. And they know now that the game is over.
In that regard, so how truly committed is the president to Tinubus' victory in the February 25 presidential election? Because President Buhari was not at the Kwara rally and that of Ogun State, though he promised to be at both opposition parties.
But we all knew where the president was. He wasn't sleeping at home. On those occasions, official functions took him out of Nigeria. And just to show a responsible president who also knows that he needs to still serve Nigerians first before he serves his party. So he takes that as precedence over serving his party. And that is why he decided to, attend to official functions first. But you see, like I said, President Buhari is not an Obasanjo who declared in 2007 that this is a do-or-die affair. And we now know why he said it was a do-or-die affair. We now know. One, he was trying to prevent Atiku from continuing SPV. We now know that the cause of their quarrel was that they were dragging money. It was quarrel over money in the SPV accounts. So when we look back to how Obasanjo was behaving in 2007, we now know that there was an issue between him and when he said it was do. He did not also want any other person to come on stream to discover the SPVs. It was a period of SPV stealing of resources of Nigerians, and that was what happened. And so the President Buhari has nothing to hide. That's why you can see that his men, his gates, his everything points out to the fact that he's not desperate. But he has told Nigerians that this is his candidate, please vote for him, but he's not desperate.
So how cordial is the relationship between President Buhari and your candidate?
How much cordial can it be when the president approved me, a member of his cabinet, to go and be the chief spokesperson of the campaign, to go and lead the charge of that campaign? How much more do you want to see again? President Buhari was approved my appointment. They went to him. Can we borrow a member of your cabinet to serve his party? And President Buhari approved it. What more do you want to hear and see again?
Thank you for that clarification. Now, your senior colleague, Professor Isesage, has described the new naira notes policy and fuel scarcity as ill-timed and capable of strengthening the opposition to turn people against the government of the day. Now, with just few weeks to the election, few days rather, do you agree with him that the timing was wrong?
Well, those fifth columnists, that is what they want to achieve. So I agree with him to that extent that they want to turn the masses against the government, turn the masses against the APC as if this is the problem of the APC. But thank God Asiwaju spoke out on time. And so Nigerians exactly know what is going on right now. They know that fifth columnists are working hard to truncate the system and turn Nigerians against the government. So right now, Nigerians are, alerted already. Don't over their tracks, and we hope they repent. We hope they repent, because the way this election is going, we are going to come to it on this program. It will be the 11th wonder of the world if Asiwaju, with the figures we are seeing, with the feedback we are having from the field, if he loses the election. I'm not being overconfident. I'm only talking of empirical analysis.
Okay. Now, Labour has written to the president that Nigerians are worried about losing their monies. But the CBN insists that on January 31st deadline, The House of Representatives has also threatened to issue warrants for arrest of the CBN governor. What advice do you have for the CBN at this crucial time?
Well, it's very simple. I don't think this calls for too much quarrel. Just provide enough notes of the new notes so that people can have access to the new notes. It's the paucity of the new notes that will cause problem. And the new notes, if there's a small window you can give for people to see reform, return them. For me, I believe it has been enough. It's been enough for people to return their money. But for people who were ignorant, who did not know, they should do more voters education, extend by 1 week or thereabout. But the major issue is not about even the refund of the old notes. It's to make the new notes very much available. Once they flood the market with the new notes, I think we are good and good to go.
So in all of this, do you think your party will win the presidential election in the light of anger on the streets caused by fuel scarcity and CBN's ill-timed action?
Well, like I said, we had to speak out so that Nigerians will understand what is going on. We have empathy. We sympathize with Nigerians. This is not the first in terms of fuel crisis. I want you to know, President Buhari had done exceptionally well regarding the flow of fuel, the free flow of fuel. Because between 2015 and now, we have not really experienced very large-scale scarcity. There will be some, scarcity here and there in the past, but in some days it always fizzles out. There is no Christmas we have suffered up to until this last one. No Christmas. And it was a tradition in the 16 years of PDP, especially the last 4 or 5 years of PDP before we took over, that we were always experiencing that scarcity during Christmas period. Remember that up until the time Jonathan handed over to a new government, there was fuel scarcity in the whole country, 2 months up till he handed over in 2015. For those who were big enough to remember then, especially the younger ones. So we empathize with Nigerians. We sympathize with them. We will work with the agencies. We will work with all those involved to ensure that last few days in the private place in Abuja, we were briefed. About 6 of us were briefed, and we were assured that, of course, fuel will begin to flow in a matter of hours from today. So we sympathize with Nigerians, but we know too that we need to also let Nigerians know that people are within the system who are also sabotaging the system.
Great.
Who are sabotaging, who are saboteurs and who are sabotaging the system.
Mr. Keyamo, opinion polls have shown that if elections were held today, Peter Obi of the Labour Party will win by popular margin. Now, are you not worried that the chances of APC are becoming slimmer?
No, I'm not worried. In fact, we have laughed at those polls. Those polls appear like a very desperate attempt to buoy the spirit of one of those polls. We looked at, for example, the modus operandi by which those polls were conducted. They were completely laughable. One of them said they conducted by phone, and they just did random phone calls around the country. And the first question we asked that, how do you know that this set of phones we were calling are from Sokoto or from Kaduna? You just sit down in your house. None of these polls have gone to the field. They said because of insecurity, they did not go to the field. This is extremely laughable. We looked at also one of those who conducted the polls. We saw that 80% of the people in that organization are members of the same family, father and children, who are sympathetic to one particular candidate. We dismissed it. Let me tell you this. We have listened to the PDP too and their projections. They take their baseline from 1979. They said, what happened in 1979 will repeat itself. How can you take your baseline from 1979? That is too anachronistic. We take our baseline from 2011, 2015, and 2019. That is more contemporary. How can you be comparing the baseline of 2011, 2015, and 2019 to the baseline of 1979? 1979, like you're about to say, long, anachronistic. And no, it's not going to happen. Now, if you look at 2011, 2015, and 2019, look at the trajectory, look at the pattern of voting, look at the demography. You will know that Atiku Abubakar has no pathway to victory. There's none. And that Asiwaju stands way ahead of others. In those areas that they hope that demography will swap, will change, and that is the north. They are just saying that they hope and pray that the North will betray Asiwaju. That is their hope. They have no other hope again. Let me tell you another warped logic. They say they have to, we will change. What kind of logic is that? You will retain your areas, but in your own area, in our own areas, we will not retain it. Why are we not going to retain your own areas? You say now because they will see their own son as in quotes. So you are now still the same son of South, South, and Southeast. Are you their son?
All right. Mr. Keyamo.
So you hope tribalism will work for you in certain areas. It will not work for you in certain areas.
All right, quickly before we go, the G5
it will not work for us,
governors...
in certain areas.
Mr. Keyamo, before we go, the G5 governors are yet to decide who to support. Yes. So how critical are the G5 governors in this electoral calculation? In 30 seconds.
Well, every single vote counts. Every single support counts. These governors are heavyweights. If back to what we are already, the projection we are already having, then by 12 noon on that day, by 12 noon, the voting, election will be over, really, in terms of the votes that we are going to be having. By 12 noon, the election will be over.
All right, it's been an interesting conversation with the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, who is also the spokesperson for the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Festus Keyamo. Thank you very much for coming on Politics Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVCNewsNG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVCNewsNigeria. Join us for the repeat episode at midnight and on another edition of Politics, digging beyond the headlines.